Thank you for keeping up with me this time. And hi, guys. I'm at Sava's downtown Ann Arbor with the founder. I would like her to take some time and introduce herself in the short. We have a lot to go through her story, but a small introduction initially.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here today, and congratulations on the launch of your new podcast.
Thank you
You
so
you
much.
failed to mention that I am your first podcast guest,
Yeah.
so I'm honored to be here with you to kick this off and try all your technology. Yep, I'm Sava Farah. I'm the owner of Sava's Aventura and also the Dixboro project. I started these restaurants here in Ann Arbor in 2007 and have been serving many meals ever since. And I'm excited to get into some of the parts of my journey that might intrigue you and your listeners.
Yeah. Um, she has a very interesting story. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But today, she has a lot of profile online, so you can go and check there for the most obvious things. Today, we are going to do two things. First, we're going to dive in between those lines where the story is a little bit blurred, no one knows about it, And second, we're going to get some advice from her,
Uh oh.
starting a restaurant on going from zero to everything, because you started from zero and everyone's going to know the story now. So, first of all, I just want to take a moment, look around. Like here, this is like a beautiful place that you built. You have your impressions on this place. When you look around, what do you see? Like we see a hotel, we see something like that, but what do you see around right
This is kind of crazy because the one thing that keeps getting my attention is some fingerprints on the glass over there. You see those fingerprints? There was like a little kid sitting there earlier.
now?
Yeah. So those are the things when you are like sort of obsessed with what you're doing, like
Mhm.
I am. I definitely live in a space of gratitude and appreciation, especially from where I came from. But when you have the obsession around your business, which any successful entrepreneur in any industry is slightly obsessed with what you're doing, you're always looking to move the needle, you're always looking to refine, you're always looking to improve, you're always looking for those imperfections. So when I look around, it's really that balance of like appreciation and gratitude for all the people who came and ate here today, all of
Mm.
my staff who are working here. We have over 120 people that work at this restaurant alone. The success I've had here on State Street almost 20 years, that's really the foundation of what I feel and experience.
Mm.
But those imperfections and those things that constantly need adjusting,
Mhm.
that's what catches my eye. So I'm always trying to put the blinders on so I can be present in the moment when I'm in the restaurant and not be distracted by all the little things that need my attention or I've got to get somebody to take a look at and
Mm.
handle. So yeah, that's the obsessive quality of the work that I do.
Got it. Got it. So it's more like first you see the abstract parts of it, which is like appreciation, the effort that went in, and the second is you see things that need cleaning.
Yeah. And if there was food, I would be picking the food apart. I'd be picking the drinks apart. I'd be thinking about all the ways that this can be improved. Because you always have to be innovating and iterating and
Mm.
creating that next version of yourself. At least that's how I've operated in the restaurant space. Starting from a restaurant that was across the street, I was pointing to earlier, which is now the beer aisle at
Mm.
CVS in
Mm.
2007, and making my way to running these three amazing restaurants here in Ann Arbor. It's been through a process of continuous improvement, continuous iteration, continuous growth, evolution. And I think once you stop doing that, your business starts to sort of descend rather than continue to ascend.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. It was. I mean, we wanted to know like what a founder thinks about, and we're gonna revisit this question after this podcast.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a little bit different answer to the same question. Uh, but now, starting from the beginning, you ran from your. So not you, but you, your family, and a couple of people left your country.
Yeah.
Almost ran away from the country.
Yeah, we did. We
So
fled.
you fled from the country. Um, I, we know the story. I've seen a photo which I'll put on here.
Okay.
You're right.
17 of us.
Yeah. And the last time I was with her during a lecture, I thought it was like a Netflix documentary. That is the best part. Like,
Oh, thank you for
it.
that.
And I want you to tell us about a little bit about that experience.
Yeah.
But what I specifically want to ask you is like, how does your family recall this process?
Yeah.
It's one thing that you tell, on the podcast, like, hey, I ran. But how does your family discuss about this? And it's a particular day that is always discussed, like, hey, this day, like, it was weird, like we didn't know if we're gonna cross the border, something like that. So
Yeah, certainly. So, all the members of my family who were part of that journey
mm,
all have totally different experiences.
okay.
Like my mom will never talk about it.
Mm,
My aunts, they get emotional immediately talking about it. My uncles, I have 7 uncles that came on the journey. Everybody has their different experience, but it was definitely a very dangerous and scary journey. Like that's the one thing that we all have in common is like that fear of making that type of journey in the middle of the night, being chased by our government, knowing that nobody had ever made it out of those villages alive. Like we're the first family that made it out alive. Like it's not even something that we talk about as much as it's something that like we embody. Like we carry that experience in our body in very similar ways. So if you see anybody from my family that was part of that night, we all live life at the maximum. We live life at 100%. Every single one of us. That's the one thing we have in common, because when you make it through something like that,
mm,
like how lucky you are to be alive, and we don't take anything for granted.
mm.
We don't take not one day for granted. We don't take this country for granted. We don't take our experience for granted. And I think that is the one common thread with every single one of us is gratitude and really seizing the opportunity of being here, because we know how lucky we are to be alive and in this country.
What do you mean by living like 100%? I've seen people talk about it. I'm living my day, but for you, what is the definition of 100%?
Yeah, so I think the first word that comes to mind for me now is like fearless.
Mm,
I
mm,
think especially in the business space, I think one of the things that holds people back so often is fear of failure.
right.
Like, why would I care about failure when I came out of that? You know what I mean?
Oh,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Like that's real fear.
right.
Um, certain types of insecurities that like I notice people who might come from different backgrounds have.
Mm,
It's like we know the insecurity of like being hungry. Like when you come from a country where like were dying of starvation at that time, like that's a real insecurity. So I will listen to podcasts about like people will be talking about like imposter syndrome or insecurity presenting or insecurity talking on this podcast.
mm,
Those are superficial insecurities, but when you come from like real insecurity, poverty, starvation, war, these are real insecurities. So like we're not bothered by modern day insecurities like in business. Oh well, what if I lose, what if I lose all my money? So what? Like we've been poor, we know what it's like
right.
to be poor. We didn't die, we're
Mm,
still here.
mm,
And just knowing the strength that the human spirit has and the capacity that the human spirit has, I
mm.
think has been a real gift to the family members and those of us who went through that experience together.
Got it.
And we just have really taken advantage of the opportunity of being in this country. I know we're not a perfect nation, there's no such thing as a perfect nation, but you told me earlier while you were setting up your technology, why are you in America?
For the American dream.
The American dream is still very alive in this
Mm,
country. It's harder to get here, it's harder to make it, but it is still alive and well here. And it's not just available to, let's say, people who are coming from other countries like you and I. It's available to anybody. And I've always had that sort of outlook. It's like, we're in the land of milk and honey here. Like anybody can have anything at any time if they, set their mind to it. Like I'll never be a basketball player, I'm not going to go for that.
mm,
But in the realm of my comfort and of my genius and of what my passions are. And I've always looked at business that way. And I would think when I was 21 and I started my first restaurant before I even came to Ann Arbor, and I would think to myself, if other people have done it, why can't I do it?
mm.
But I've had extreme experiences in my life, so I wasn't shying away from any sort of extreme experiences or extreme risk.
Got it.
So these are the things that like enable somebody like me to really live my life to the fullest.
Got it. Got it. And there's a related question, which is about reputation. Like, there is something that I'm seeing among Gen Z, but I'll ask you at the end. Because you said like you don't fear anything. You have
Well,
like no
not
fear of.
anything, but there are things I fear.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
but fearless generally. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We all have
We're gonna
fears.
touch on fear
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Hit me with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to ask you the question after, like at the end, about the reputation thing. But we'll continue on the journey right now, wherein just for context, you started working around 13.
Yep.
I saw her TED talk. She started working in a restaurant in Detroit,
Yep. Yep.
in a restaurant
Yep.
in Detroit as a 13-year-old.
Yep.
And it went up to Sava for president.
And it what?
It went up to Sava for president.
Oh my gosh! Did I bring that picture to that?
Huh?
My graduation picture.
No.
It went up to Sava for
Yeah,
president.
Sava president. I see like a photo of you and a couple of people signing
Oh,
Sava for
you
president.
know, this was some guests from one of my restaurants.
Right.
I was serving them for years,
Hmm.
and they actually they came to my high school graduation. They made that massive sign.
Oh shit.
So sweet.
Oh,
I
that
was
is
so moved by that.
But I think there's a lot of things that you did that has led to this. So, like, at 13 years old, how did this come? Is it finance? Is it like, oh, I
Yeah,
need to do
definitely.
something?
Yeah, definitely. So we grew up, with very, very humble means. And my dad came up to me and he said, "You know what, daughter, you are tall enough to get a job." And I had an older sister. She was much smaller than me.
Right.
So I got offered to go to work, and I said, "What? They're going to let me work?" I couldn't believe it.
Oh.
So, I knew at an early age, if I ever wanted a new pair of shoes or anything in my life that was like, above the means that my, immigrant family was able to provide, that I was going to have to, work for it. And so my parents let me go to work at 13, and I had two of my uncles were line cooks in a restaurant. And I kept bugging them to help me get a job, help me get a job. So they helped me get a job at the restaurant that they were working in. So it was a Greek diner. That was my first job. And I was the water girl. I used to fill little waters like this, fill them with ice and water, and walk them from the back server station to the front server station for a whopping $3 an hour.
Oh.
Cash.
$3 an hour.
Yep. And that was 1996. So that might have been minimum wage then. But I was, I would leave work every weekend. I was getting paid cash under the table because I was underage. I'd leave work every weekend with, a couple $100. I was happy.
So the inception of this thought of going out and working was due to your finances and the family condition back then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now the question comes to the Sava for president thing. Was it the same restaurant or did you change a couple of jobs?
Oh, I changed a lot of jobs. Yeah, I changed a lot of jobs.
What's the range, like, when you started the first job at 13 and
Yeah.
the high school one?
Yeah.
I think 5 years?
Yeah, I guess that would have been like 4 or 5 years, definitely.
Right.
And within that 5 years, I probably worked at 3 different restaurants.
3 different restaurants. What did you do to, because I have been to several restaurants in India and here, what have you done differently so that those people came up to you? And given that you have changed 3 restaurants, so I'm thinking you 1.5 year at each restaurant.
Yeah.
What did you do that created this bond that they came up with this sign?
Oh,
I've never heard about this.
Oh,
before.
really? Well, first of all, like the people that came to my first restaurant followed me to my second restaurant, followed me to my third restaurant. And in fact, some of them have even followed me to Ann Arbor. I have people that come and eat in my restaurants that I've known and been taking care of for 30 years almost. Isn't that crazy? I've been doing this 29 years. So, but I think for me, hospitality and taking care of people, because I'm Albanian and hospitality is really the cornerstone of our culture. And that's what we care about the most, is like how we make people feel, the way we take care of people. So it's so natural for me to like really want to take care of people. And because I had this like zest for life because of my background, like I would go to work every day so excited that I was going to be able to go to work and like take care of people. And I started as the water girl, but within 6 months I was a server in this restaurant. So then I was making real cash because I had my own section, I had my own tables. And while some of my colleagues who maybe grew up with a little bit more than I didn't recognize the privilege of being able to go to work every day, like I recognize that privilege. So I went to work with like a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm every day. That paired with like this innate quality that I have of like really wanting to genuinely take care of people and show them a great time, I developed a cult following in these restaurants. And frankly, it's much like the following that I have here in Ann Arbor, because people would come for the food, they would come for the restaurant. But this is a Maya Angelou quote. She says, people might forget what they heard, what you told them, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. So when you can tap into somebody's emotional state and change the way that they feel. And how did I do that? I would do simple things. Like I had a guy named Steve that used to come, he'd follow me from restaurant to restaurant. He hasn't made it to Ann Arbor yet. I lost him along the way. But Steve would come.
Mm.
He probably came to 6 restaurants I worked at.
Mm.
And as soon as I saw Steve's car pull in the parking lot, 2 eggs over medium, ham, hash browns, wheat toast, no butter, and a decaf coffee. I would see his car pull up, and instead of treating him like a regular anybody, hi, would you like a table? I would put his order in, and he would have his decaf coffee waiting for him, sweet and low.
Oh.
Making people feel seen. You know, this is such an underrated quality, such an underrated skill. Opening the door for somebody. You know, packaging their food for them instead of giving them a box, package their food and put a little smiley face on it. You know, I do these little things as a 14, 15, 16-year-old. And not only did I develop this following, I was making head and shoulders more money than the servers that I was working next to that were working 15, 20 years. They weren't always happy to be there. I was happy to be there every single day. So, you know, really, and this goes into any industry. This doesn't just stop at taking care of people in restaurants. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, sending a thank you note, kindness, generosity, you know, these things go such a long way and they don't have to cost you money.
Right.
But it's just these small things, and especially in a world that we're living in right now where everything just feels so AI generated and we're getting less and less human connection. The opportunities that we have to make these human connections must be as humanly possible. Okay. So that's where we really get to differentiate ourselves.
And you also talk about something called as Besa.
Besa, yeah.
Yeah. What is like? Can you explain the concept of
Absolutely. So Besa is the Albanian ancient code of honor that basically dictates the way that we treat our guests,
Right.
which means anybody that comes to your house, which for me is my restaurant. When I was 13 years old, it was the restaurant. Today it's here. Anybody that comes to your house, you treat them with the highest degree of care and respect possible. And that's our code of honor. And if they measure like the quality of your character based on how you treat your guests in my culture.
Oh, good.
Yeah. They don't care about your college degrees. They don't care about how many goats you have in the backyard. They don't care about how much money you have in the bank.
Right.
What they care about is how you respect people when they come into your home.
God
That is Besa.
God is Besa. And that has helped to create this cult following, you would say?
Well, you know, it's who I am. So it's helped me, you know, it runs through my veins, right? So and it just really lends itself very well to the work that I do. And so I was naturally drawn to this work and then I was naturally successful at it. And then when I came to Ann Arbor, I just had to figure out how to operationalize and scale that. Because, you know, you can pull aside any one of my servers or any one of my staff here and they can tell you what Besa means. Oh, okay. Absolutely. That's one of our values in the company is Besa. That's our first value, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I came in right now and I don't know her name, but she was there. And she got like a big smile. And I was like anxious about this podcast. I also, my also mood uplifted. Like, you know, I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So people.
Absolutely.
Give a big smile. It works.
It works. Smiles are free and effective.
And I'm taking a bit of pauses just to reframe all like my questions.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, coming to 23, which I turned like a couple of days back. When you were 23, you took this bold decision to go and start off your own restaurant. Now, you were doing well. So there are like 3 things I wanted to know, which is like, why would you go and start your own restaurant? What was like that? Was it like on your top of your mind, or was it like something that came in one day? And I want to know about the last day at your working place, and how was the first day of your dream cafe?
Oh, my dream cafe.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did I start? So, you know, I was working in a small community. So, as you know, I'm Albanian. So I was working amongst this Albanian community of restaurants.
Right.
And at that time, 20 some years ago, women in my culture didn't really step outside of the box, right? So, you know, they didn't like open their own businesses. They didn't even go into like leadership roles. You know, the expectation was you finished high school. You know, if you had a very progressive family, they would let you go to college and then you just get married and have kids, right? So the idea of starting my own business was very foreign. I didn't grow up around with female entrepreneurs. I didn't even grow up around like females who'd like wanted to like take on leadership roles. Right. But I knew that I had this sort of like this itch to do more in life. I didn't know what that more was,
Okay.
but I was working for these restaurant operators that were running small restaurants and they were making a living. These weren't like big successful restaurants. It was nothing like this restaurant or a lot that we see here on campus.
Right.
There were a lot of Albanian foreigners who had come to America and opened these little restaurants. And, you know, they weren't the most skilled operators. So I would watch these guys, all men, run these restaurants. And I thought to myself, gosh, you know, if some of these bozos can run these restaurants, like I could definitely run a restaurant. So I definitely had the confidence watching some of these operators. But when I wanted to open my own restaurant, that's how I got to Ann Arbor. I remember I opened a paper map and I said, I want to open my own restaurant, but I can't do it where my Albanian community is centralized in the Metro Detroit area because it was unheard of. I knew I was going to get talked out of it. I knew it wasn't going to look good for my family, which was like one of the metrics back then. So that's actually how I got to Ann Arbor. Was I wanted to be somewhere that was like close enough to my family but far enough from like the microscope of my community.
Right.
So, you know, and frankly I said I'm just going to go to Ann Arbor. It was 2007. So at that time, it was like, I think it was like 1 in 3 restaurants was closed, or at least it felt that way to me at that time. We'd been hit really hard by that last recession. You were a baby, you don't remember this at all, and you were in India. We got hit really hard by that by the recession in the early 2000s.
Right.
And there were so many vacant restaurants. I said, I'm going to drive to Ann Arbor and I'm going to find the shittiest restaurant on the block that's been sitting vacant that nobody wants, because I didn't have the capital to like build a restaurant or do anything major. I was looking for something that I could go in and turnkey and just like sort of start cooking the next day. And that's when I found the pita pit across the street, which was the original Sava's. And it was on the second floor of the beer aisle, which I mentioned to you. And it was about 1,200 square feet, had about 20 seats in it. And I ran into one of the neighbors and I said, hey, how long has that pita pit been empty for, vacant? And they said, oh, that place, that's terrible location, been a revolving door. It's been empty for 2 years.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I think that's perfect. I think it's a perfect restaurant for me. Because I knew what I had to offer in terms of the way that I treat my guests and the environment that I know I was capable of creating. I knew that I could be in any location. It didn't matter to me if I was in a good location or a bad location. It didn't matter what neighborhood. So that day I found the woman who owned the building and I convinced her to lease me that space for a month-to-month lease. So that's how I got into my first restaurant. So I was painting walls. I was YouTubing how to change tile, how to change light fixtures. And, you know, little by little, I just pieced it together and was able to run this little cafe. And the first day I opened, I didn't know if anybody was going to come in.
Right.
And I think we sold I sold $643 in food, which just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, $643 was so much money at that time.
On the first day?
On the first day.
Awesome. And how did people show up? What your network, like the bonds that you had built that were like trying to support you?
Not really, because it was so far from where I was, and I didn't really even want to talk about it because plus I was so young. I was 23 years old, and I just like, and I didn't have like a business degree. I wasn't a chef. So I knew the doubt and skepticism that might come with, hey, I'm going to Ann Arbor to open my own restaurant. What do you know about Ann Arbor? What do you know about cooking? I was a waitress. What do you know about business? You know, so all I knew about was me. Okay. But they don't know what I'm capable of because nobody knows what's inside your head and your heart. Right. And I knew I could figure it out over time and that I was willing to work hard enough to do that.
Right.
So I didn't really promote too much that I was opening this restaurant. I put a sign out front and it was like, we're open for business. That was it. And I put a rock in the door and I opened the door all the way and people came in. It was incredible.
What were like, just a question, like what were you selling on the first day?
Well, you know, I wrote a small menu and I was cooking. I was doing everything. I was the only worker that day. And for months after that. So I needed a small menu that I could do everything. So I said, I'm going to put together a small menu of all the things I love to eat.
Right.
Salads, sandwiches. I made a great burger. I made a great black bean burger, which we still have on the menu today. A Greek salad, which we still have on the menu today here. So I put just a small menu of like my favorite things that I love to eat, made with lots and lots of love.
Got it. Yeah. So the first day was $643.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I was expecting something like like the typical software guys, like hey, no one showed up, but we kept up. But that's great that 643. And how was the last day at work? Like, because everyone is stuck on this place. And I also have a question from one of my. I put a story yesterday saying that, hey, do you have any questions? I'm going to meet this founder. So she also had one question. But before that, how was the last day at work? Because now it's like a
Before I
big
came
decision.
here,
Yeah, but
God, I can't even remember. I think I was so far gone that I was already like mentally here. I can't remember at all.
oh, okay,
No, no. It was 20 years ago.
20 years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, but like, did you have anything in back of your mind like, hey, this is paying me so good,
No, I
and
wasn't making much money, so I wasn't leaving anything great behind either.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
like because you come from something like zero, right, and then leaving it, it's almost like going to zero, right?
Right,
So how
right.
did the
So
fear?
starting over.
Did the fear not hit you?
Well, there was definitely, I definitely had like the queasy stomach and the nerves.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess there was a lot of like fear or apprehension at the time. I was 23 years old. I had, a lot of things that I was contending with at the time. Um, but I wasn't worried about the money.
Hmm.
I mean, I wasn't worried about that at all. I just
Okay.
I knew I would figure it out,
Hmm. Hmm.
And there was a period of time where I would close the restaurant. I was open like 11 to 9 Monday through Saturday, and then Sundays I would work 9 to 3.
Okay.
And then to make extra money, I would go to Detroit and I would bartend at a nightclub and make like $500 cash at this nightclub and work there till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Come back to Ann Arbor, open my restaurant Monday. I don't mind working, so I wasn't afraid of like figuring out the
Figuring
economics.
out.
Yeah.
And I think this also answers the question that the person wanted to ask is the question she had was like, how did you get the initial capital to start a restaurant? And will it be any different today? Like, you
Yeah, of
know,
course. So I didn't go in capital intensive. I
hmm,
went in with $10,000 in the bank. That's
right.
all I had saved. So, if I'm not a business school student, so I wasn't even thinking about those things. I wasn't
Hmm,
even thinking about raising money or getting a bank loan. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's not
right.
how I was operating. So, I was operating with like, what do I have today
Hmm,
and what can I do with it?
hmm, hmm,
And that's how I started. So it's like of my $10,000, I think I had to leave a deposit, like first month's rent, which was 6,700. So I
right.
had about $3,300 to open the restaurant. So paint, signage, menus, food, and it just started so small that I didn't have all this like startup capital. And as a result of that, I've never had to carry a bunch of debt. So I have no investors in any of the restaurants. I don't have a
Hmm,
huge debt load, and so that's one of the things that has really helped me out in business, and I'm able to pivot quickly, and I don't have a board. I don't have people I have to ask for permission if I want to change something or do something differently. And so it's given me a lot of freedom and autonomy in my business for sure.
got it. Got it. So that's the answer to the question. Like, start with what you have.
Start with what you have.
And
And some people, what they have is they can sit and write a business plan and go raise $10 million. That's great. You
that's
have
great.
that. I didn't have that.
Hmm, hmm,
And that would have never worked for me either.
hmm, hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I would have. I don't think it would have worked out as well as it had to have, let's say partners or investors or people to answer to. I needed to move quickly because I was figuring things out day after
Hmm.
day, and I still am.
Got it. So you're
Yeah.
saying that were investors back then, because today it would be very hard to convince an investor to invest in a restaurant. Were investor willing to put in money that like that time?
Well, at that time, it was a huge economic downturn. So,
Right.
and especially restaurants were hit
Hmm,
hard.
hmm,
So it was not a good time. I would even venture to guess that they weren't even lending money to restaurants.
hmm,
Banks weren't even lending to restaurants.
hmm.
And to find investors, I think would have been really hard. But I was also 23. You know, we all know that females have a harder time raising money. I didn't
No
have a
doubt.
college degree.
Hmm,
I didn't even have a laptop to put together a business plan, so I didn't even consider those routes. But I didn't go to college either,
hmm,
so that wasn't even in my preview of like taking that entryway into business.
hmm.
And if I had, I probably wouldn't have done what I did, and I definitely wouldn't have done it the way that I did it, just going in to business and not having any parameters, any confines, any constructs. Like I was so free to think and do what felt right to me. And I educated myself along the way,
Hmm,
you know,
hmm.
reading, talking to other entrepreneurs, watching different models, watching different businesses. It's like that we live in a world of like, if you have one of these, You have everything you need.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't even
Yeah.
have that then. I was on a BlackBerry. I remember I used to close the restaurant sometimes for 20 or 30 minutes to go down to the freaking Ann Arbor Public Library to look at a recipe, print it, come back and cook it. This was a different time then.
That's, I think we didn't share this last time, but this
Yeah,
is interesting. Like
yeah.
closing it, getting things. It's like getting things done. Like
Getting things done,
whatever it takes.
however it worked for me. And I wasn't looking at how they were doing it or how they're doing it. Oh, I should do it like this. I'm going to do it how I do it. That's
Right.
still how I run my company today.
Right.
You know, it's good to look at models, but I think with so many times we get caught into comparison,
Hmm.
or we get caught into, it should be done like this. There's no shoulds in business.
Hmm.
The only should is what works for you.
Got it. Hmm.
That's and I always stay true to that for myself, and it's guided me quite well. Have I made tons of mistakes along the way? Countless.
Hmm.
More mistakes than good ideas and good moves,
No.
But that's where you learn as well, is in those mistakes.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. And then this went from 20 to 23 restaurant to like a. I remember the story telling that one day you were thrown almost like to, because the place was going to be taken over by some pharmacy.
Yep, CVS.
CVS, yeah, and you had to move in here. I want you to describe that, but you did this successfully because you're smart. You like you were hardworking. You were hustling. But I want to know a time when you came in here and you realized this. Oh shit, this is bigger than me. Like
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
there was a good 2 years of that
Hmm.
when I first moved into this building. I mean this is 12,000 square feet. I was 25 years old when I moved into this building from a 1,200 square foot space to a 12,000 square foot space. So 10x, 10x the
10x, right?
seating, 10x the square footage,
Hmm.
10x the staff, 10x the bills, and for somebody to scale their leadership capacity, their skills 10x overnight is impossible. It's impossible,
It's
right?
impossible.
So there were many years there of like having to do on the job learning and through a lot of trial and error.
Hmm.
And no, there were some really hard years there, and I was well aware that I was well over my head.
Hmm.
I didn't have the skills to run this restaurant, but I had a good enough core staff that believed in me and trusted in me. Same with the guests. I had a good enough core base of customers that were coming into the restaurant that were patient, that believed in me, that wanted to support me. And I was willing to work insane amounts of hours. Like, and when I say insane, like there were some years there where I think I took Thanksgiving Day off and Christmas Day off, and that was it. I worked every other day of the
Hmm.
entire calendar year, and my work days were not 8-hour work days. I mean, a short day was like a 10-hour work day.
Oh.
And I would sometimes ask myself, I'm like, why am I doing this?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
what's driving me to do this? But I had committed
Right.
to being in the space,
Right.
and I was gonna give it all I got. That was it. And honestly, it's like I've been able to build my entire empire off of the success of this restaurant, and the success of this restaurant was built off of my hard work and my team, the amazing team I had. And I have people still here today that started with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I hear a lot of hard work, hard work. I
yeah,
think that's the only
yeah,
solution, guys. Like, I
yeah.
don't think there's anything else because,
Whatever you're doing, it's
yeah,
gonna take hard work. And if it's not taking hard work, you're probably not really getting very far. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it.
everybody would do it.
Everybody would do it. If success was easy, everybody would be successful. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy.
Do you remember like a story from your initial days? So, just to give you a reference, I have tried starting up before this, and it was like a software company. We used to do AI when OpenAI was not a thing, and we had a user email us saying that, hey, like I'm a cursive user. I was like, shit, it's a cursive user. And then I want a similar story from here, like where you saw, like, did someone come here and like propose someone, or did someone come here and you're celebrating something, and you felt that this place is more than food, like.
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time.
Any story that you recall particularly?
I got to think about that because we have it happen all the time. But going back to the earlier years of knowing that this place was so much more than just a restaurant.
Right.
What comes to mind for me is some of the team experiences with my team. We
Okay.
would work so hard, and the teamwork and the bonds that get created when you're like at war. I mean, I'm talking this is now like you're on the battlefield every day because we
Right.
don't have the skills, we don't have the systems, we don't have the structure. We're just figuring it out every single day, coming to work, getting hammered, busy as hell, untrained staff, lack of systems, lack of resources, lack of tools, working with suboptimal equipment, suboptimal conditions in this restaurant while we were saving up money and every week buy a new piece of equipment, get new knives, and keep reinvesting in the business. But some of the earlier like transformational experiences that I saw was in the teams that came together and the bonds that
Hmm.
came together, and also like the personal development. I mean, the kinds of people that got created working in this environment. I mean, so many of them went into entrepreneurship. So
Hmm.
many of them.
Hmm.
Like two of my brothers, my little brothers who opened this restaurant, both of them have multiple businesses that they run. So many of them, like after going through that experience with me, were like, we did it. I can do it. And they went off and they lived their dreams. I see
Right.
it all the time. And
Hmm.
it's like, so that's what comes to mind. And when it comes to guest experiences, yeah, definitely. Like, do I remember specific birthday parties or celebrations? We're in the celebration business, so that's every single day.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, I think what really stands out to me is the employee experiences that were created here.
It is really important that people, like, initial days it's so difficult. No one is really trusting you because no, there are, I wouldn't say not trusting you. It's like more there are enough people who are telling you why this is not going to work.
Oh yeah,
And I remember in the TED talk you said that there were like so many people saying that, telling me why the thing that I'm doing is wrong.
yeah, yeah.
And like
This is true.
the question is like the noise is much more today. Like you go online today, I'm gonna put this podcast. I don't think it'll get like a lot of views, but there'll be someone who'll come up and tell me, and like how do I tell you, like before
Haters,
this,
haters.
haters. Before this, there were 10 haters. Now the social media thing has made it so scaled. Like someone comes and randomly hates
Yeah,
on you.
yeah,
But I
because you
think
put
the
yourself out
philosophy,
there in such a bigger way.
right,
You're putting yourself out there, but you have to take those risks, and you have
right,
to realize. You know what I tell my kids all the time when they want to do something? You don't have to be good to start,
hmm.
but you do have to be start to be good. You got to
Oh,
start
yeah,
somewhere. You know,
true. Hmm.
Nobody is good when they start anything. I wasn't
Hmm.
good when I started this restaurant.
Hmm.
You're going to be a way better interviewer when we do a follow up in 2 years.
2 years, right?
You just don't start at the top. And I
Hmm.
think so many times we look at, other podcasts or other restaurants or other entrepreneurs or other tech firms. We're seeing them, 5, 6, 10, 20 years in the game,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
I've been in the game 20 years. If I'm not good by now,
Hmm.
get me out of here. Hand it
Makes
off.
sense.
Yeah, find me a
Makes
buyer.
sense.
I'll move on. But you spend enough time, you spend
Hmm.
enough energy. You better be good. But there's no way that you're going to start and be hitting home runs. And then in terms of like the negative talk, it just comes with the territory. That's a risk that you take.
Hmm.
I still get nasty emails. It's like I'll have I'll have guests who come to the restaurant and they have a bad experience, and it's just like that's the most heartbreaking thing. And I wake up in the morning. One of the things I do, I told you I'm an early riser. I read all the reviews from all the restaurants from the night before. Guess who
Okay.
left reviews?
Hmm.
And so many of them, unfortunately, when they have a bad experience in the restaurant, it's a personal attack on me. Well, they don't even know me, you know
Okay.
but they personalize the experience because there's a person behind these restaurants. So
Right.
they say, Sava has lost her touch. I see that one sometimes. Or Sava's, she doesn't know what she's doing anymore. Or like when I had my kids, oh, now she's got kids, she's not paying attention to her restaurants. You hear it all.
Right.
But if you have no haters, there's a rap song that somebody played for me recently. It says, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So if you
Oh.
if you don't have any haters, you're not doing anything,
Right.
right?
Right. Hmm.
Okay. And the more poppin' you are, the more haters you're going to have. That's just, it comes with the territory. So I've learned over time,
Hmm.
I used to see these reviews and I would respond back or like try and correct it and say, or try and like justify a situation.
Right.
If we really did somebody wrong, we're going to try and rectify it. But if somebody's just hating on you, it just comes with the territory. I don't know anyone who's done anything that doesn't have haters. The only way that you're going to eliminate haters in your life is to do nothing.
They're gonna stop at a point.
If you do nothing. But if you're doing anything, you're
Hmm.
subjecting yourself to criticism.
Hmm. Hmm.
And usually the people who are criticizing are the ones who also have done nothing with their lives. So I don't worry about that.
It's worth thinking about. It's
Yeah.
worth thinking about.
Ah,
It's really important, at least today, because whatever you do, it comes with a scale,
yeah.
and then you have like a lot of haters. That was something that I got asked, like, one of the other persons, like, he was very worried, like, which comes with the question that I want to ask you at the end, which is like about reputation. uh, but I would like to go with like another question, which was like, this journey looks so romantic, like, it's like you came from zero, you did everything, now you have this restaurant, you also had a grocery store
Yeah.
chain,
Yeah.
right?
Three locations.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds so founderish, like, I came in zero, I did it, but this has come at a cost, like,
Yeah. No question.
yeah. And it's like I call it like the cost of purpose.
Yeah.
So
That's a
what
good
is
one.
something that has costed you personally? What are some things that have costed
My
you
entire
personally?
20s.
Right.
I have no recollection of anything in my 20s besides working.
Right.
Truly, I was so lucky that I met my honey bunny, who is now my husband, in
Hmm.
my 20s,
Hmm.
here at the restaurant. It was like 26 when I met him.
Hmm.
But I missed weddings, I missed funerals, I missed an entire decade of my life
Right.
building my company.
Hmm.
And I missed partying, I missed like learning things that normal 22, 23, 25 year old girls are doing, dating, being social. So I missed that whole phase of my life. um, and at that time it felt like I was really missing out. But looking back at it, I really don't feel like I was missing out. I wouldn't do it differently. I wouldn't do it differently at all. So but I lost a lot of family time. I was away from my family.
Hmm.
I was away from, I have a big extended family, so I missed a lot of birthdays, I missed a lot of celebrations. So I that sort of thing. But it's time is a limited resource. So
Right.
when you're committed to a mission, like, and like we were talking about earlier, even if more so if you're obsessed with a mission,
Right.
it has all of your attention, especially while you're getting it off the ground.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then there's
Hmm.
there's there's another toll. Like if you look at my arms, I look at my arms, look at all these burns.
Oh
That's from
yeah.
cooking.
Oh, that's from cooking.
That's from cooking.
Oh.
And I these are all these burns are 10, 15, 20 years old. So
They would have
there's a
been much
physical
major
toll.
back
This is a
then.
very athletic job as well.
Hmm.
You're on your
Hmm.
feet all day.
Right.
You're in a hot environment. I don't cook anymore in the kitchens, but it was very taxing physically as well. So this is a labor of love.
And why did you keep going then? Like, when someone looks around today, who is trying to do something similar to you, he also sees all these options. He sees people partying, and that looks so much attractive than the stuff that we are doing at the point. What make what made you keep going? Like, why didn't you think that, hey, it's fine, like, this restaurant, it's every day, but today I should go and probably, like, that day there was no Tinder Bumble, but probably go around, like, go in bars and like talk with people. Maybe I'll get a date. What was that thing, like, because today I
What
see a lot
drove
of
me?
people, yeah,
Yeah, at that time. Yeah, I mean,
kept you away from distraction, a better
yeah, away
word.
from distraction for the most part. I found a fair amount of trouble as well, even with my busy work schedule. But truthfully, like I was just so committed to what I was doing, and I
Right.
and I and I knew that there was an end point for me. Like those years, those very challenging years, like I had all the faith in the world that they were going to lead to like very greener pastures
Hmm.
and better days ahead.
Hmm.
And I was committed to making that happen. And then
Right.
I would look around and I would see restaurateurs that had made it, that had succeeded, that were living the types of lifestyles and running the types of restaurants that I had envisioned. And vision, that's what drove me. I had a vision for greatness. And that was greatness in terms of how I was running my restaurants, how I
Hmm.
was leading my teams, how I was serving the community, and also how I was going to live my life. So I was, to answer it like very simplistically, vision. If you don't have vision, if you don't have like a end point in mind, it's easy to get lost and distracted. But when you have a vision and you know exactly what you're doing with your life or your
Right.
business or your product, and it's something worth getting obsessed about, those distractions, they weren't even in my preview. I wasn't even thinking I was missing out at that time. It's looking back at my 20s that I realized, like, oh shit, like I spent my entire 20s doing this. But
Right.
that's also why by the time I had my first kid when I was 33, Like I was able to take time off, be home with my kids. That's why I have the schedule I have now and the lifestyle that I have now and the teams that I have now, because I invested so much on the front end
Mm.
instead of wasting my years partying or learning how to take selfies or doing all these other things that kids are doing, which is like great. Like that,
Great. Yeah.
if that's what is important to you at that time, that's
Mm.
awesome. Like,
Mm.
but for me, like changing my circumstances and achieving this American dream
Mm.
was my sole focus.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So vision, guys, like that's the most important thing.
It's
Something.
everything. And vision and grand visions, but even small visions,
Mm.
like, people think visioning is this like obscure thing that's only for founders. it, I think visioning is important at every single stage of the game,
Got it. Mm.
in the smallest things. Like if I'm preparing a meal at home, like the first thing I start with is like a vision. Like, what do I want this plate to look like, feel like, taste like,
Mm.
and another word for vision is planning.
Right.
You got to plan. That's
Mm.
that's really it.
Mm.
And the difference between planning and vision, to me, there's vision and then there's planning.
Right.
Vision is planning with creativity and intention.
Okay. Vision is planning with creativity and
intention,
intention.
right?
Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
That's really it. Because people say, "Oh, well, you're a visionary, so well, everybody's a visionary."
Hmm.
We just have to exercise that muscle,
Hmm.
and the more you can exercise that muscle and be intentional, the vision and intentionality, those words are very interchangeable to me.
Got it.
Intention, having an intention for your life, having an intention for your day. How do you want your day to operate? There's so many people that come to me and talk to me about stuff like this. Like they're not even thinking about their day. Like they just wake up and it's like they turn on the news, they make their coffee. They're not even planning how they want to live their day. So, this is so important for young people and all people, is being intentional. How do you want to feel? How do you want to look?
Hmm.
How do you want to perform? How do you want people to perceive you? You know, Vision.
Do you feel it's gone entirely opposite right now, because you see the YOLO, you live once, and then they I had a conversation with one of my friends here recently, and he was like, You're too planning, like, you think a lot, you should just let go." That was the word. But I'm more like what you described. I like to, not on a daily basis, but at least I want to plan. Like, I want something that I'm chasing constantly. Otherwise it feels purposeless, like,
Yeah, well,
so.
you're hardwired that way. You're
Right.
hardwired to have goals and plans, and it's probably going to get you a lot farther in life. But that doesn't mean that you can't leave room for spontaneity.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
doesn't mean you can't leave room for, like, hey, if your friend calls you and you're like, sometimes like me and my kids will just like, I hope none of their teachers listen to this, but we, like, 2 Mondays ago we just did a skip school day. It was
Right.
like a random Monday. It was Columbus Day. I thought they didn't have school, but they did
Right.
have school, and we're just like, fuck it, we're not going to school. We're just going to party all day. So we went to the cider mill. We went and just
Hmm.
had a
Hmm.
great day. It was like
Hmm.
the perfect weather Monday,
Hmm.
and we had an awesome day just hanging out with my kids. Like, that doesn't mean you can't, like, make
Have
room
spot.
for that spontaneity in your life. You've got to leave a little bit of white space. Like, I don't, like, even when I'm designing my schedule for the week or for the day, like, I used to design my schedule where I had a meeting and an obligation every single hour on the hour for, like, prior to having kids, it would be like 15, 16 hours
Right.
straight of just like, I'm supposed to be somewhere every hour on the hour. That was like such an exhausting sport. This is crazy. You're not even making time to process what happened in your previous engagement before you go into the next thing. So I was like living life, but I wasn't absorbing what was happening around me.
Hmm.
So now, I create a lot more white space in my schedule. So that's why when you emailed me last week about sitting today, I have time. Yeah, I always have
Right.
time.
Right. Right.
Because I don't run a jam-packed schedule.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
for me, that's really, really important as well. So I have a vision
Hmm.
and I have a plan, and I leave a lot of white space within that plan so that I can actually be experiencing life and not just jumping from one obligation to the next.
Do you feel this is a result of your insanely hard working years in your 20s?
Yeah, I earned it. I earned this like time freedom.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if it was, let's say you did it back in 20s, because I'm looking, because most of the people who will be listening will be like college students, like
Yeah.
18 to 25 kind of people. Uh, they are very confused on whether they should go for like a work life balance, and, like,
Yeah.
there are many people who are telling like work life balance, but I am of your thought, like, I think initial years you have a lot of energy, if you can decide like a few things that you really like, you find. I wanted your thought on that. Like, do you feel that the things that you're telling is like a result of your hard work in your 20s?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the
And do you
freedom and
advise?
flexibility I have now is only is only possible because of the investment that I've made in
Hmm,
time. You know,
hmm,
I have an extraordinary team that helps me run the company
right.
day to day. I've become an excellent delegator.
Hmm,
You know, I'm very clear on my needs and expectations and where I'm driving the company, but that came with experience.
right.
Okay,
Hmm,
experience is the key. Experience. If your listeners are 18 to 25,
right.
experience, and don't think you have it before you have it.
Right.
It takes years and years to gain this kind of experience. So but you've got to put that time in. You
Hmm,
know,
hmm,
you've got to put that time in early on. You've got to work those crazy hours. You've got to invest yourself. You've got to put in the effort to gain that experience. And from there, yeah, then you can start thinking about work life balance. But you know, if I have somebody who's 22 years old and comes and sits and talks to me about work life balance, that's the end of the conversation for me. I don't need to hear anything more. I don't want you on my team. I don't want to invest in your product. I don't want to even hear about your business plan.
hmm, hmm.
You haven't earned work life balance.
Right.
If you're concerned about work life balance at 22,
Give it up.
end of the conversation for me. You know, because if you don't have grit
Right.
and you don't
Right.
have, and you're already thinking about what else do you have to do at 22? What else do you have to do? Go party, you know, Netflix and chill, order DoorDash. Like, this is all great stuff. Go ahead and do it. But if that's your priority, then you're probably not going to be very successful in business. So you've got to put the time in,
Hmm,
you've got to put in the effort, and you have to gain experience,
hmm.
years and years of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Um, you build this. You have built everything. Like you built this. You have built a couple of projects. At this point in your life, do you ever feel like It's a, it, I remember you said in this conversation that you do not, but you sometimes feel a little bit trapped. Like, hey, now I have like a beautiful restaurant that I'm owning, like running. There are a few other projects. The project's name I forgot.
Dixboro project.
Dixboro project. It's like a project that you have a vision of 100 plus years.
Yeah.
They're gonna put 100 plus years.
Yeah.
Do you feel trapped? Do you feel like, hey, now I need to like get out of this or like do
Wow.
something?
There were many years where I felt that way, to be honest with you, where I was just like, okay, is this a jail cell? It's a really nice jail cell, but am I in a jail cell? Because
Right.
I was trapped in the
Hmm.
company. And I think that
Hmm.
that's normal for people who have created something that they are now responsible for.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
people feel trapped in marriages, they feel trapped in parenthood, they feel trapped
Right.
in their businesses. I think I had to condition myself out of that in certain ways. And one of the ways that I think I did that, looking back, is like, I think I had to really create some separation between Sava, the person,
Okay.
and Sava, the founder and creator of these businesses. I had to create some real separation between those because it's easy for those identities to get meshed,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then when those are meshed, then you're on the inside of it. But I look at my life a little bit differently now, where I think, you know, there's Sava, the person, and the restaurants are one of the things that I do,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So if the restaurants were gone tomorrow, it wouldn't change who I am as a person.
Right.
It might change how somebody sees me because, you know, today they see me, they're like, oh, there's a restaurant lady.
Hmm.
They might not think of me in that way
Hmm.
and whatever that means for them, but that's not going to change my identity or how I see myself and view myself.
Hmm.
You know, because if I'm not doing that great thing, I might be doing another great thing. And for me, that could even mean having a really amazing garden at home. You know, I
Hmm.
dream about things like that. Like, I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, if I ever retired from the restaurant, I would build the most beautiful vegetable garden in my backyard, and I have all
Right.
these plans of meals I would cook,
Hmm.
etc. And I'll probably
Hmm.
get there someday. But you know, you can feel trapped. I think to not be trapped
Hmm.
in your own creations takes intention. Again, back to vision and intention. How did I get outside my company? Because at first I was, you know, I was enmeshed,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But I had a vision that I wanted to be a person who ran these restaurants and not have
The-
this containment, this
right.
enmeshment with the businesses. But that's developing a healthy relationship with your company, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
And that took a lot of years of therapy, friends, a lot of years of therapy and executive coaching to understand that I could have those two be separate.
Got it.
But the responsibility is major, you know.
Hmm.
So maybe I don't feel trapped by
Hmm.
the restaurants
Hmm.
anymore, but I always feel the weight of the restaurants. And back
Okay.
to those 2 days out of the year, Thanksgiving and Christmas, those are the only 2 days of the year that all three of my businesses are, well, I have other businesses outside of the restaurant industry, but it's
Right.
the 3 days of the year, or the 2 days of the year that my 3 restaurants are closed, those are the days where I get the most rest because there is nothing going on. On an average day, we're feeding, upwards of, sometimes we're feeding even 3,000 people in a day. So serving 3,000 people meals comes with a certain amount of responsibility and weight to it. I have, 370 employees.
Right.
We feed a lot of families out of these restaurants. That comes with a certain amount of responsibility, right? So that responsibility is always felt. So that pressure is always there. So you got to like pressure, or you have to develop a way to find peace within that pressure. That peace has got to be created.
Okay. Got it. So you have to be fine with pressure.
You have to accept it.
You have to accept
You have to accept it and develop a healthy relationship with the pressure and the responsibility. At least that's what worked for me.
So it's like you can reduce it, but you cannot negate it.
You can't negate it. But, here's the thing about pressure. I was talking to my kid last night. He's doing tennis. He's doing football. He's doing, some other athletic training. He's getting straight A's at school. He's got a lot of pressure for a 9-year-old little guy. And sometimes he'll say, Mom, it's just a lot. I'm like, well, what's a lot? What's a lot? Well, tell me what's a lot. And he'll tell me all the things he has going on. I said, well, do you want to stop doing this? Okay, do you want to do that? So I'll give him options. No, I want to keep doing that. No, I want to go to that party. No, I want to do this. Okay, so the pressure is a privilege.
Right.
Not a lot of kids get to do the things that you get to do. So I have to remind him that, his mom and dad come from very humble beginnings. So we have to remind him that the pressure is a privilege. Okay. That when you remind yourself of that, I think that somehow feels like a little bit of a release valve to remember it's a privilege. You don't have to do it. I don't have to do this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But then I would be going and working for somebody else and dealing with the pressure of that person. So you're going to deal with pressure no matter what you're doing. Yeah. Even, I look at some of these people who are sitting out there on the streets, these guys that live out here on the streets on my block, they've got pressures. It's going to be cold tonight. It's 35 degrees. They've got to find clothes to warm up, It's like they're dealing with a lot more pressure than I am.
Right. They're dealing with the pressure of getting food daily.
Absolutely.
They don't know if they're going to get any money today.
Exactly.
So pressure is there. You just need to choose your pressure.
You choose your pressure and develop a very good relationship with it. Yeah.
I understand, because I am very bad at it. Like, to tell you, whenever I see pressure, whenever I feel pressure, so there, when you start something, you have excitement that goes on, but then it starts becoming a pressure. Like, oh, I'm not able to do this. I start becoming very closed. Like, I'm like, oh shit, I think this is not for me because this is creating pressure. But now I think I have a better understanding after you say.
Yeah. So it's like, I would, if I was in your shoes, I would think to myself, okay, I want to develop a response mechanism because if I naturally respond to pressure in this way that does not support my highest good, I need to create an inhibitor. Like, I need to create either a mantra, or I go for a walk, or I remind myself that it's a privilege. Like, there's something that you can implement in your thought process for you to recondition how you feel about pressure.
Got it.
It's different for everybody, right? It's different for everybody. It's just like, but and we go back to vision, developing a vision for how you want to have a relationship with the pressure, with the responsibility. I'm going to follow up with you on this one.
Got it.
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, you should work on that.
And after all this, like all these years that you've put in, like, you're so strong that I'm inspired by you. Like, as soon as this was over, I went onto the slides to find your email, but I did not get it. Then I somehow just thought that I should search on Google. That's how I got it. I want to know, what is that one day that you, like, in all these days, that one day that you keep going back to feel good, or you feel that, oh shit, like, that day, maybe it's good, it's bad. I just want to know about that one day that you flashes always in front of you.
I'm going to just give you the first one that came to mind because this one has sat with me a long time. There was one year where I overextended the company. I expanded quickly.
Okay.
And the person I had managing my finances was sort of mismanaging the finances. and I like pretty much bankrupt myself. You know, I was spending money I thought I had, but I
Mm.
didn't have it because bills weren't getting paid, and you know, and I got into this like very hard financial situation.
Right.
And like I was saying earlier, I'm not afraid of being poor. I'm not afraid of any of it because I know I can overcome any adversity. Right? We all
Right.
can. But this was particularly difficult because at this point I had like 250 employees. So now the responsibility and the pressure starts kicking in because it's
Kicking
not
in.
just me and 10 people, or
Mm.
it's not just me at the little restaurant selling $600 of food every day.
Right.
And I have the responsibility of all of these families that we
Right.
help support, right? And accounting is not my strong suit either.
Mm.
And we were having like some very hard months. The vendors are calling, the banks are calling, everybody needs to get paid, checks are bouncing. I'm like, holy shit, how am I going to figure this out? And I remember I was sitting in my office. I had an office on Liberty Street,
Mm.
and the whole room was all glass on the one side. And I remember I was looking outside the window, and my assistant Nathan came in at the time, and he says, "You okay, boss?" I said, "No." He said, "What's up?" I said, "This, I'm at this critical moment that I have a choice to keep fighting
Mm.
or just to run because this is such a fucking nightmare what I created for myself here."
Mm.
And you know, he looked at me.
Yeah.
He said, "I know what you're gonna do." I said, "How do you know what I'm gonna do?" He's like, "You ain't no bitch." And I don't know if this is okay to say in camera, but
You can. You
yeah,
can.
okay. He's like,
Can we be
like,
louder?
you're a fighter. You're a
Right.
fighter.
Right.
Yeah, but I told him, I said, I'm just tired of fighting. I'm tired.
Mm.
I was so tired at this point. I've been in business, what, maybe 10 years at this point,
Mm.
8, 10 years. I've worked so hard. I finally made it out of the restaurants where I'm like running this organization, mismanaged my finances, mismanaged my finance team, and just found myself in a very ugly situation financially. Yeah, that one really stings because I remember sitting there and I remember like just looking out the window. I'm like, do I have even 1 ounce of me that would allow me to run
Mm. Mm. Mm.
and back out of this now? And I was digging and I couldn't find it. So I kept fighting and I'm glad I did. Yeah.
And when we feel trapped, or when we feel these days,
Uh-huh.
what is that source that you go back to? Is it like, is it your husband? Is it something else? Is it your journal? What is that one source which you feel that, hey, like, because I want the people to know
Yeah.
that there should be, we had a discussion back in our class
Uh-huh.
wherein like you need something else than your company so that you go
God.
back to the source.
Honestly, it's God for me.
It's God.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you just recall God? Like how does it work?
I tap into my connection with God. Now, like who is God and what do we call him? I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't have any definition. I don't go by a particular religion or a
Right.
particular, but I'm a very spiritual person and I feel the presence and the support of whatever these forces are all the time. And the more you can rely on spirit and call spirit in, the more I think you cultivate that relationship and the more supported you can be by these external forces, whatever they are. You know, I never try and define that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
but I feel it immensely.
Hmm.
So no, God is first and foremost. And of course my husband and my children, those are my sources of inspiration. But I I feel like the more I get to know more successful people who are successful and happy, there's a lot
Right.
of people who are successful and unhappy.
Right.
I don't really intermingle with those people, but the successful and happy people that I know, all of them have genuine connections with something greater than themselves. I'm going to call it God for this. Sometimes I call it different things depending on the day of the week. Spirit, source,
Hmm.
source
Hmm.
energy. You know, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but whatever our creator is, who's making all this stuff coordinate around us, that's what I go back to for sure. So I spend a lot of time, you know, I every day I meditate every morning. It's the first thing I do. I spend a lot of time in prayer. I
Hmm.
spend a lot of time in quiet. I spend a lot of time I was talking to you earlier about that white space.
White space.
That's that white space, that quiet space. You know, if we're just taking in noise all the time, distractions, Instagram,
Hmm.
shopping, whatever addictions we have, you know, and not to say I don't do any of that stuff, but we've got to build in time to be quiet and to listen, you know. And people ask me all the time, what's the difference between prayer and meditation? To me, meditation is listening and prayer is asking, you know.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
a combination of listening and asking. And if the more you listen, the less you have to ask. You know, that's another reason we were talking earlier about fitness and taking care of
Fitness.
your
Mm.
body. You know,
Mm.
that's the other thing. It's just as important to take care of your body, mind, body, spirit. Finding a way to exercise all three of those every day, that is the key to sustainable success. And success, I'm not just talking about the P&L. I'm not just talking about how many subscribers you have, what your sales are. I'm talking about real life success. That's the shit that really matters.
Mm.
You know, living in your authentic purpose, living the life that you envision for yourself, being happy, being content even when things are not going well. You know, that's the real definition of success to me. Because especially in my business, things are going wrong all day every day. You know,
Right.
it's like this is a very imperfect business.
Mm.
So how to stay centered, how to stay positive, how to stay focused, how to stay in gratitude when things are not going well, that's a real definition of
Success.
success, if you ask me, for sure. But you've got to have something greater than you supporting you. You
And
went deep
come,
there. You asked me a deep question.
you want to continue? Yes.
No, we can. I mean, no, I think I'm okay. Yeah.
uh, and with that, the question that I had, like, now comes to like helping out people, like helping
Mm.
out the uh, 20-year-olds who kind of confused. Like, there's so much noise today, much more than it was
Yeah,
that
of
day.
course.
One thing that I'm seeing around a lot, even in this 1 month that I have been here, is purpose. Like, people are saying like, hey, I'm gonna find my purpose someday and then I'll start working. And they're like, like,
And I would say to them, cut. You find your purpose through working.
through
You
working.
find your purpose through experience.
Right.
You know, they're waiting for this like magical epiphany moment,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
this epiphany moment happens through trial and error,
Hmm.
through being introduced to people, through one thing leads to the next thing, through your lessons, through your failures.
Right.
So I think that that's putting the cart before the horse, if you ask me. Like,
Hmm.
I'll start when I have a purpose,
Hmm.
but I think a lot of this gets indoctrinated in the educational systems
Right.
where a lot of your classmates are comparing themselves to Elon Musk or some of the big tech
Right.
gurus, but you're seeing Elon Musk 35 years in the game,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know and I think starting and trial and experience and trusting that
Hmm.
you're going in the right direction and hard work, that's what's going to get you your purpose. The purpose I have today, I didn't have that same purpose 20 years ago.
Hmm.
My purpose 20 years ago was survival. I didn't know it. I
Survival.
wasn't defining it. I just knew what I needed, right? My purpose today is totally different. My purpose in 20 years is not going to be the same purpose I have today. So that is an evolving thing as
Evolving thing.
you
Hmm.
as you develop skills, as you bring on new experiences, as you expand your worldview. That's where that purpose comes in. It's a living and breathing thing. It's
So,
not like this aha
aha
moment.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can read like the mission for Mac,
Hmm.
computers, Apple computers. It took Steve Jobs 15 years to write that vision.
Right.
He wasn't I don't know how he started his company. I know he started it in a garage with his buddy, but I don't know what his original purpose was. But I bet the product that he came out with was far different than what he went in intending. But that's through trial and error and iteration and experimentation.
Right. And coming back to the reputation question, like, I was referencing it through the podcast. There is a so there is an Indian entrepreneur whose name is Kunal, and he says one important thing which struck to me was like, people have this false reputation, like they have this online social image that they want to maintain, but they have done nothing in their life. The platforms make you feel that you have reputation, like, my question to you is like, so what happens then is like you don't try out things. Like when I come out here, uh, I naturally had a thought, what if this does not work out? Will people laugh at me? People will be like, because I told everyone, like I told my friends, I told my dad, I told you. So I had a minute question: how will Sava feel if it doesn't work out? Like I still have that question if this, like, the recording is going okay or not. So how do you think about this new realm of reputation? Like people think they have a reputation, but they have really not done anything. Like no one knows them outside their circle. How to deal with this pseudo, like, reputation thing?
Pseudo reputation. So because I just want to get the question right. So because they have this like online presence, but it's not based in reality.
Yeah, it's like they won't do stupid things. Like, you have to do a lot of stupid things to be here. Like for example, I'll just give a small example of mine. I email everyone I think that is good. I have emailed Elon Musk. I have emailed everyone. None of them get back to you, but many of them get back to you. But it feels almost stupid to do that upfront. Also, if you see one thing, if you go to Instagram, there are many people who put like very good stories and they put stories that are like stupid. So that just makes you feel that the other person has a kind of a very good life. They have like this reputation of living. So there is this false living standard that people have created, and I think that it's stopping many people from trying out. Like, you're gonna fall, like as you said, like, my first podcast is not gonna be the greatest piece out there, but you have to try. You have to feel
Yeah.
stupid. Our tripod fell like 3 times. I felt stupid a lot of times. So how do you suggest, how would you, like, you have kids, right? Like,
Yeah.
they are almost like us now. They are going through
Uh-oh,
this.
they are. You're right.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like going through social media.
Yeah.
They're going through this. How do you make them understand that it's important that you go and fail, you go try,
And
like,
take risks.
take risk. You're no, like, how do you make them realize that you are no one right now? You need to become what you want to become. Like, you're not the person you want to become right now.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go back to the statement I said earlier. You don't have to be good to start, but you do have to start to be good.
Right.
And when it comes to this like sort of online presence, like and sort of these this dualism, imposter syndrome, I'm
Hmm.
hearing
Hmm.
imposter syndrome and what you're
Hmm.
telling me too. You know, um, what what I'm feeling like I want to get into is authenticity, right?
Hmm.
If it's authentic to you, I say you just keep trying and trying. Now, Elon Musk, think about how many people email Elon Musk every day,
Right.
right? So, I have certain idols in my career that I want to spend more time with, or people I know that I want to spend more time with. What I think about is like, how do I build myself up
Right.
to be able to, rub elbows
Hmm.
with these people,
Hmm.
right? Rather than trying to get their attention. And it's like, hey, look at me, I'm this like lady in Ann Arbor, and I want to be part of this like circle or part of this club. I think about like, how do I build with genuine integrity
Hmm.
so that I can actually be in front of these people, but it's different for every single person. I'm not sure I hit your question. I want to keep talking about this one because I'm not sure I answered your question. I'm not sure I fully understand your question either.
If I boiled it down to the simple terms, it's like, I want you to convince people to do stupid things. Like, why I say it's stupid is because it's certainly stupid to put 15 minutes into an email sending to a person who's probably has like 0.001% chance of replying.
I
Right.
wouldn't convince him to do that.
Right. Not
What do you,
convince.
because it's like my question is like, what do you have to offer Elon Musk?
Hmm. Hmm. But just to give an example, like, I got a reply from the CEO of OpenAI.
Uh-huh.
Right. It was just business advice. What I did is I went to his old video, I took it and I asked that, hey, you said this, I have these two ideas, which should I work on? Like, what do you feel? He answered to that. So there's like this leverage that you get, or let's say even to you, right? Like, when I emailed you, the instance in my mind was like, okay, she's so busy, she's not gonna ignore it. Only put emails to people I really admire, I like want to talk to. But it's almost over, like because you're so busy, there's a chance of you replying is like, what, 10%?
Yeah, and honestly, I would say I decline a lot of these types of emails, right?
Right.
But I accepted your email because we had a connection. I
Right.
was on stage, you asked
Hmm.
me a question, you shared a little bit about your family and your background. So I felt like there was already like, I remember this guy. I like this guy. This
Right.
guy's sweet. Like, yeah, of course
Right.
I'll do your podcast, right? So that's the reason I responded to you. But I get a lot of cold emails in a
Hmm.
day, 20, 30 cold emails
Right.
in a day. I don't respond to any of them. I can't,
Right.
it's like, because I can either respond to those emails or I can invest my time into the people that like really need my
Hmm.
attention,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I have a generic, polite decline, and then I'll usually spam the email so that they don't email me back.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I know a lot of people, really, really busy people that have people filtering their emails for them
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
so that they can keep that dialogue going, but they're not like actually the ones responding to those emails.
Right.
So it's whatever feels good to you. I'm not the type of person that would reach out to somebody and a cold call. It's just not who I am.
Right.
So for me, that would be unusual. But if you feel like that's how you want to connect with people, and once in a while you get a response back, and that is worth your time, keep emailing.
Keep emailing.
Keep emailing. If that
Yeah.
if that makes you feel good and it makes you feel like you're reaching people that you want to be connected with, why wouldn't you? If that feels right to you,
Right.
I have a different way of going about it. That's what feels right to me.
Right. But what I'm gonna say is, like, anything you do, uh, like you were gonna start the restaurant back there, right? Many people, you thought it was okay. Many people would have thought you're stupid. Like,
Yeah,
why are
all the
you
time.
taking this?
Every project I've
Every
done,
project.
every single project.
Right. Now, what has happened is, like, before that, what you did, like, on the community level, you were in a place different than Ann Arbor. You came to Ann Arbor because it was close enough, but away from your community because you're not going to judge.
Right. I just didn't
now,
need that. I didn't need that extra noise.
Exactly. Today the noise is too, like, I think now I'm able to tell you, like, the noise is so much. Noise is in your phone. The noise is just in my pocket. How do I still position myself to be stupid enough to go and try whatever I want? Like, whatever I want.
Well, you can't worry about what other people think. Every project, like I'm working on a new project right now, and I'm not talking about it much because I know the first wave I'm going to get is the naysayers. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, why would you do that? You don't need this. Oh, aren't you
Right.
busy enough? Oh, and then the judgments, especially if you're a woman in business and a mother in business, then the next wave is the judgments. Well, gosh, don't you work enough? Oh, don't you this? Don't you ever see your kids? It's the shit I hear so much. So I keep a lot of my work to myself because I don't need an audience. Like I don't have a big Instagram following. I've
Right.
got less than 3,000 people on my Instagram.
Right.
But I don't really open up myself up to the judgment in certain ways that I don't want to respond. So even now, 20 years in business, I love the statement, you can't argue with success. They still argue with success. I figured out ways. I remember when I opened this restaurant, you're 25 years old, you're never going to fill this restaurant. This is the
Right.
biggest restaurant in town.
Right.
When I opened Aventura, my Spanish restaurant, who's going to want to eat Spanish food in Ann Arbor?
Ann Arbor, yeah.
I opened in Dixboro. Who's going to drive to Ann Arbor to eat in Dixboro? Why are you making your restaurant so big? I mean, so those naysayers are going to be there. And, when people say to me, you can't do this, you know what I say to them? You can't do it.
You can't.
You can't do this. You can't build a podcast. You can't build a community of people that want to eat Spanish food, 7 nights a week. Maybe you can't do it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I can't do it, or
Right.
that you can't do your dreams and or as you call it, stupid stuff, whatever your stupid stuff is. And maybe I would even reframe the idea of calling it stupid stuff,
Right.
Right? Maybe there's a different term that you could use where it's like maybe it's out of the box stuff or unconventional stuff, so that you feel like it, so that you're not even labeling it stupid. It's if it feels right to you, it's not stupid. I know a lot of people might think, for me, they might think, well, it's stupid for you to open another restaurant.
Right.
But you don't know how I live my life. You don't, it's like, you don't know what I do day to day. Like,
Right.
People think all the time that I'm working in these restaurants every single day. Like I was saying earlier, I have phenomenal teams that run my restaurants every
Right.
day. I'm not a day-to-day operator working every single day, every single shift. I'm a creator. So when I go to do a new project, it's because that's my role in the organization, is to continue to create.
Right.
And I've cultivated that for myself. But most people don't understand that. Most people couldn't understand. And and then the other thing, the way that I operate is like, because of my capacity that I've worked years to develop, they don't understand that I'm using the power of forces so much greater than myself. The big guy upstairs I was telling you about earlier. I'm using the power of forces that they're not even thinking about. That's what's guiding me through.
Could you reference this big guy? Sorry.
Yeah, God.
God.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. When you're using the power of the universe and you're guided by that, like you can go, the distance that you can go so much farther. I know that from experience because I didn't always have that connection.
Right.
And now that I do, I have such a greater capacity to do what I love to do, which is create. I love creating. I'm a creator. I'm not a maintainer. So like to sit and run these restaurants day in and day out, It's not who I am. There's so many people that do it in my company that are 100 times better than I
Better
could
than
ever be
you.
at it. Yeah. So yeah, so it's like, you've got to just define what makes you happy.
Makes you happy.
Yeah, and you can't worry about the haters. Yeah, and you just got to know they're there. They're there, and they, to
They're
me,
gonna be
I
there.
don't even think about them. And people tell me all the time, "Oh, Sava, you have so many haters." I'm like, they think they hate me.
Right.
They wish they knew me well enough to even have a real opinion. You know,
Right. Right.
why would you hate me? Like, what? Unless I've done something to you, it's like you hate the idea of me.
Hmm.
You hate the idea of a woman or a Indian guy or whatever. You hate the idea of a guy on a motorcycle. But it's their limitations.
Hmm. Hmm.
This has nothing to do with you. When
Right.
people have opinions about me, I know it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
If you don't know me, why should I even think about the opinion you have of me?
Right. Right. Last two questions. I heard this is something I'm making on the spot, so you might choose not to answer it. It's like I heard a lot about struggles of being like a woman entrepreneur, and as someone who is not from is from the opposite gender, I do not nearly understand how difficult it is. So, is it like what are some things that you still feel being a woman entrepreneur makes it so difficult, and what about like the people who are going to watch it and
Yeah.
thinking that it's like 40% 50% going to be like female people who are
Yeah.
going to watch
I
this?
mean, listen, it's not an equal playing field for women and men. Okay,
Right.
it's also not an equal playing field for people of different ethnicities,
Right.
color of your skin, sexual orientation. It is not a level playing field.
Right.
That's just a fact of the matter. But I have never paid too much attention to that.
Hmm.
And I know the settings and situations where my gender is a problem, and I just eliminate myself from that situation.
Okay.
Or if I'm getting underestimated, or maybe I'm not getting a fair deal, I don't quickly go to that
Right.
place and think, oh, it's because I'm a woman. But I'm well aware
Hmm.
that that's a factor that takes place. So I spend my time putting myself in environments where that is embraced and welcomed and celebrated.
Right.
I don't spend a lot of time in environments where I'm trying to crawl up a ladder. Whose ladder is it anyway? It's my ladder. I'm going to bring my own ladder.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not using your ladder. I got a ladder.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And after that, we have gone through the story again. I still want you to look around and tell me, do you see anything different now?
Let's see. Okay.
The story. Do you see something
Yeah.
like?
Now I see Glenn at the bar, the guy with gray hair, who's been having happy hour here since I
Right.
opened this restaurant in this building in
Oh.
2009. And they are professors at the University of Michigan. And yeah, and I'm going to go give him a big fat hug once we're done here.
Oh.
Maybe buy him a beer.
It's
Yeah.
the connections, guys.
Yeah.
It's the connections.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was great. It was great. One last question,
Please.
which one of my friends wanted. Are there any discount codes you'll run for the people who watch this podcast?
What is your question?
The question is, he is asking, will be there any discount code for people who watch this podcast?
Discount code. Yeah.
For students.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to do a discount code. I'd have to ask somebody.
Right.
Probably not. It sounds like something.
You have to comment.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, if you see me, I'll buy you a beer, but I don't really even know how to do a discount code. I
Got
don't
it.
even know if our systems enable that sort of thing.
Got
That
it.
is a good question.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's like I put a Instagram story yesterday saying that, hey, I want your questions. He's like, I want to try the restaurant, but are they giving any discount?
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
was
a good
like,
question. He's a
yeah.
hustler. I like that.
He's like, I'll ask her
Yeah,
tomorrow.
if I
at the
saw
end of
if I saw one of my managers around, I would ask them, but they don't let me make those kinds of decisions around here.
For sure. So you have to come in and you have to try that
And
day.
if you see me at the restaurant and you say hello and mention this podcast, I'll buy you a beer. How's that?
So yeah, please come in. It was great talking
Yeah,
to you.
great talking to you.
Thank you so much for your
much.
time.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, it's like one of the best stories I've heard.
Oh, that's
like,
so
you know,
kind. Thank
And
you.
she's
Well,
still going. She's still working on a few projects. If you guys are interested in the hotel space and the restaurant space, and the hospitality space, you can hit her up if you want to work with her. Like, do you hire? Do you still hire?
Yeah, we
for other
hire. I don't
projects?
do any of the hiring,
Right.
but if they went to thepulpogroup.com, there's a
Hmm.
page there where they can submit their inquiry, and yeah, we're always hiring new talent, people who want to learn about the industry. So I welcome that definitely.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching this, and thank you so much,
Thank you.
Sava, for
My
being on
pleasure.
the
Thank you.
podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
How was that?
it was
Yeah,
good.
you did great.
Yeah, I'm
You
just
did
hoping
great.
nothing crashed that side.
No.